Hello there, dear friends, and welcome once again to the Relaxed Fantasy Review. On this channel, we spend our time looking at fantasy of all sorts, from books to movies to video games, and applying the characters within in the tabletop game Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition. Today, though, we're going to be looking at a core mechanic of D&D itself. Specifically, we're going to be having a look at a subclass of the wizard, the School of Evocation. Evocation wizards are some of the most basic wizards out there, since they focus almost all of their power into offensive magic, throwing everything from fireballs to cones of cold to lightning bolts. Basically, if it does damage, it's the Evocation wizard's best friend. Let's have a look-see at exactly what powers this school gives to its wizards. Now, as with all wizarding schools, they get a savant ability, which allows them to copy evocation spells faster and cheaper. I leave this out, since every school gets this for their own individual spells. At level 2, the Evocation Wizard gets the Sculpt spell power. This allows them to create pockets of safety inside of their area of effect spells, such as Fireball or Burning Hands, giving your allies an auto success on their saving throws. This means that you can literally drop a fireball on yourself and create a safe zone within it for yourself and your allies, depending on your intelligence modifier. And it allows you to basically use any spell at close range, and for an evocation wizard, this is invaluable. There's nothing worse than getting surrounded by enemies and not wanting to use an area of effect spell because you could basically bomb yourself. This means you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about laying down a fireball against the barbarian or against the tank at the front. And if you want to line up a lightning bolt, but there's one or two of your allies in the most efficient shot line, who cares? Create a pocket of safety for them and they don't get hurt. This is a 10 out of 10 power, one of the most useful things wizards can get. Then at level 6, they get the potent Kantrip power. This means that if a enemy has to make a saving throw against a cantrip and they fail it, normally they would take no damage. This means they will take half damage, which is similar to leveled spells. The trouble is that most of the cantrips that require saving throws are the worse cantrips. Usually we choose cantrips because they don't require saving throws, because attack rolls are just better for spells like that. So this basically takes cantrips that are not as great and makes them a little better. So I give it a 6 out of 10. Then at level 10 comes the Empowered Evocation. This allows you to add your intelligence modifier to the damage of an evocation spell, which is okay, except for the fact that it's just one add. You can only add it to one enemy, and you can only add it to one dice roll. So effectively, it takes a spell that would do 25 damage to several enemies in a zone, and it does like 5 more damage to one. It's not super great. It's pretty underwhelming when you really read it, and I give it another 6 out of 10. Finally, at level 14, you get the Overchannel power. This means that once per day, you can maximum damage your evocation spells up to 5th level. Best way to explain this is to talk about the spell Fireball. Fireball does 8d6 at level 3, 10d6 at level 5, which normally would average out to 35 damage per enemy in its radius. But when you overchannel the power, you maximize the damage for all the dice, meaning that instead of doing an average of 35, it just does 60 damage to every creature. This is incredibly strong, but you can only do it once per day, unless you opt to take damage when you do it. You can overchannel again, but in doing so, you will take damage equivalent to the level of the spell you're casting, and this damage cannot be reduced in any way. It basically is a burnout power. And honestly, I've played an Evocation Wizard before, and I never did it more than once. It just wasn't worth it, considering your limited pool of health. Maybe in an emergency, I could see this being a thing. But just the once per day use is still great for really, really making that one spell count when it needs to. And I give it an 8 out of 10. And then finally, I give the Evocation Wizard an 8 out of 10. Half of its powers really sell themselves for mastering the use of your evocation spells, and the other half really feel like trinket abilities. I don't think that this is a bad subclass at all. In fact, it's very simple. You just hit people harder with magic, and that's great. I think if it was given one or two more interesting or intelligent ways to use your spells, then that would have been nice. But as it is, just hitting people really hard, yeah, I give that a solid 8 out of 10. This has been the Relaxed Fantasy Review. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe down below, and keep your eyes peeled for more subclass reviews coming down the line soon. Have a good one, my friends.